Texas so big. I do have to say, though, you know, I was, just before I left, I had one of these television, they were turned on, and they said, well, you know, they have about 4,500 people inside because that's maximum. By the way, it took us about 2 minutes to sell that out. But we had 4,500 inside. But there are thousands and thousands of people outside, protesters. But they weren't protesters, they're our people. They can't get in, and they're saying they're protesters. So next time we have to get a bigger venue. We like this venue. It represents a lot, right? Represents a lot. And they were very nice to us. But we do need a bigger venue, and we'll get a bigger venue next time. I want to thank you, and I want to thank thousands of people outside, and they're waving, and I want to just stop, and I want to go and wade in and hug them and kiss them. But there's a problem. Secret Service doesn't love that idea so much. Well, I want to thank you all. So, a lot of things are happening. Thank you. Thank you. I love you too. I love you too. Love you too. So we're just beginning this process, and you know it started, believe it or not, right? June 16th, 1 year, the escalator. 1 year, this is the 1 year anniversary, and we're going to make it, hopefully we're going to make it a worthwhile year. They're all talking about we've created a movement. Somebody said, doesn't make any difference how Donald Trump does from now on because what he's done has never been done before. I said, like hell it doesn't make a difference. It makes a big difference. I am so looking forward to the debate. The debate. There's so much there. I am so looking forward to it. The debate with crooked Hillary. I assume she's going to be allowed. No, I assume she's going to be allowed to run. I mean, you tell me. You think that's a fair situation? Oh, boy. But one of those things. And Bernie's still out there. He's still out there. Bernie is out there. And I'm hearing we're going to pick up a lot of Bernie supporters. Because, you know, one thing, which is amazing, but if you think about it, we're very similar on one thing, except I can do much more about it to fix it. Trade. Because he understands that our country is being totally ripped off like you never saw before, ripped off on trade. And I understand it. The difference is I'm going to make the greatest trade deals you've ever seen, ever, ever, ever. We're going to bring our jobs back. And Bernie can't do that. That Bernie can't do. But he understands the basics, and the basics are exactly that. And it's going to be about jobs, and we're going to have an administration that's going to be you're going to be so proud of your country. Forget about your president. Who cares? We want to be proud of our country. Let's just get it. But you're going to be so proud of your country and hopefully very, very proud of your president. And I watch this really horrible but professional campaign. I watch it, where Hillary gets up and says, you know, she reads that teleprompter, ba-ba, 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 ba-ba. And then they say, it was a great presentation. What? And she's reading what they're telling her to read. But it won't be easy because the press for this, you know, it's funny. I didn't love the press during the primaries. But now it's like brutal. These people are so one-sided. I have never seen, honestly, I've never seen, like as an example, there are 5,000 protesters. I just said it, one of them. I said, I asked my people, how many are there? Maybe 3, 4, or 500. And the thousands are the people. But this is what it is. It's so biased. It's so slanted. It's so one-sided. And all I can say is the people out there are really smart because they get it. They understand what's going on. They understand what's going on. And I appreciate it, okay? So look, a couple of things. And I just watched President Obama. And he does it a lot. He does it a lot because we have one after another. We have tragedy after tragedy. And it's a tough situation. But he's largely, to a large extent, he's blaming guns. And I'm going to save your Second Amendment, folks. I'm going to save your Second Amendment. Totally. And Hillary wants to abolish the Second Amendment. Remember that. Now, more sophisticated than that, But the end result will be she will abolish the Second Amendment. Just remember that. Just remember that, okay? Just remember that. And she's now trying to come back a little bit, but she can't come back because Bernie's over there and others are over there. And actually, Bernie is better on that issue than she is from our standpoint. Maybe we want to run against Bernie, but we can't have, can you believe this guy doesn't give up? One thing, you got to give him credit. You got to give him credit. He doesn't give up. We could have used a guy like that 4 years ago that didn't give up. Wouldn't that have been great? One thing, we don't give up, folks. We don't give up. The problem with our country is we have leaders that give up. They give up on so many things. They gave up on trade. We're being just ripped left and right. They gave up on the borders. They gave up on the borders, totally. They gave up on so many things, and they certainly gave up. It's almost like they gave up on ISIS. I mean, if you think about it, they gave up on ISIS. And just remember this. One of the top people in the administration, the current administration, just said, and I actually wrote it down, that ISIS is working very hard to come into the West. They're working very hard to come into our country, and they are working very hard. And you saw what one sleazebag can do. One sleazebag over the weekend, what he did, the horror that he wreaked on us as a nation. One person laughing as he's shooting, doing Facebook posts as he's shooting, calling people as he's shooting, and killing people, and no more, folks, and just no more. And you know, the gay community, the LGBT community, frankly, the LGBT community, these are people that had a place, and this was a place of safety. This is a place where people felt safe. And if you think about it, what the violation that took place, and that was allowed to take place, the violation that took place, and it's due to weakness. It's weakness on behalf of our leadership. It's weakness. People don't respect our country anymore. People don't respect our leadership anymore. People don't respect us anymore. But let me tell you, they're going to respect you folks, because things are going to change. Things are going to change. And we are going, you know, I was against the war in Iraq, and I was against it from the beginning. You know, they like to say, well, you know, in 2003, and actually somebody said, even if it was 2004, but the fact is I was against it at the very beginning, because they said it's going to destabilize the Middle East. And then what happened is I was right, unfortunately. You know, you had two countries, Iran and Iraq, and they'd fight always, forever. They fight, they fight, they fight. They're the same. They were militarily exactly the same. So they'd fight, they'd get nowhere. In the meantime, they were hurting each other. They couldn't go crazy. So, you know, they were too busy fighting each other. So we knocked out Iraq, and now Iran, as sure as you're standing there, sorry for the seats, but we had to get the people in, okay? We'll get this. And we don't want to do it fast. We want to take our time tonight. What the hell? I came to Dallas. We want to take our time tonight. But as sure as you're standing there, we, and thank you, darling, I love you. I even love our protesters wherever they are. Don't we have any protesters so they turn? Any protesters, anybody? Please raise your hand, because watch what happens. The cameras will turn, they'll show the, oh, that's good. Oh, good, there's a protester. No, but they're a nice protester. Leave them alone, that's all. Leave them alone, they're nice protesters. Can you believe? Only at a Trump rally. Do we have a great time at Trump rallies? I mean, unbelievable. 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 Yeah, you could get them out unless they want to stay. Would you like to stay? You know, when you think about it, protesters are sort of funny. What do we want? We want a strong military. We want to be protected, right? We want people coming in that love us into the country, and they want to go in and they want to do a job. And we want, by the way, we want to have a strong border. We want to have a wall. We got to have a wall. But we want people to pour into the country, but they have to come in legally, if you think. We want great education, right? We got to get rid of Common Core, bring education local. We're doing very badly in education. We've got to we've got to repeal Obamacare. We've got to have great health care. This is a disaster. And by the way, I read this in New York. York, in the state of Texas, I read it last week. In the state of Texas, as you know, Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? Through Obamacare, raised 60%, went up 60%. It was just announced. And, you know, the country didn't really pick it up. They don't like to pick things like that. It's 60% increase. Your deductibles are so high that nobody's ever going to use it unless you have a really low, slow, horrible death. Otherwise, you'll never be able to use it. The deductible is so high that you're not going to be able to use it. Your premiums have gone up 60%. It's a disaster. The same thing now is going to happen in the country. Okay, you can get that. Why, they like that? Are they happy about that? You can get that out. Go ahead, get them out. Do we love our police? Do we love the police? They're great. They're great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The police, they're great. Boy, they move quickly. They don't play games in Texas, do they, huh? They don't. You know, it's funny. I've done so many of these, and we'll have thousands and thousands of people in a room, and it's just like thousands, and you'll have one protester. And the next day headline, Donald Trump suffers through a protest. You take like 2 seconds. Donald Trump, he suffered through, Donald Trump had protesters outside. I mean, it's called give me a break. It's the safest place there is at a Trump rally, I'll tell you that. Now remember this, we protect each other, but we have to protect everybody. We have to bring everybody. You know, it's make America great again, but we're going to say make America great again for everybody. Not us, everybody. We got to do that for everybody. Really, for everybody. And that's going to happen. So we have to have people come into our country that don't hate us. We have to have people come into this country that want to be proud to come in. And you have certain countries where there's tremendous terrorism, and we're allowing people to flow into our country. And we can't do that. And maybe there'll be a time when we can. Maybe when we figure it out, but we cannot figure it out. We don't have the resources to figure it out. And we're allowing thousands and thousands of people to come into our country from countries that are terrorist countries. Do we love it? This can only happen to Trump, okay? This can only happen. Hello, all you people over there. I love you. They get the side angle, but that's okay. Hey, that sure as hell beats being outside, right? Right? You're happy, right? I've read about this place for a long time. Where's that horse? I want to go on the horse. I want to, hey, you want to hit the papers tomorrow? Let's get that horse. I'll ride that horse. The problem is, even if I make it, they'll say I fell off the horse and it was terrible. No, good place, good place. Good place and great, great people. Great, great people. The people of Texas. We just had a meeting and we had some fantastic folks. I mean, like Andy Beal Bank, one of the great business people. These are the people, by the way, Tom Benenson from Club Corporation. These are the people. You take somebody like Andy Beal. You put him in charge of China. Okay, Andy, do me a favor, renegotiate our trade deal. You know what we can all do? Go home, relax, have dinner. You will make some of the great deals. You say, what happened? Look at it. You make one deal like that. Look, I'll tell you. So we have to do a lot of things. Number one, we have to stop the wrong people. We have to stop people with hate in their heart from coming into our country. When we have a fine gentleman from the Obama administration, he is a fine gentleman, saying that ISIS is coming here. They know they're coming here, and we allow people to come in. And what's happening is a percentage of the people coming in, and I've been pretty good at this stuff. I've been a good prognosticator. I also said keep the oil. I said a lot of good things. I mean, I've been pretty good at this stuff, okay? Keep the oil. Now, of course, did we keep the oil? No. And who's got the oil? Essentially, Iran will have the oil because they're going in. You know, we handed them one of the great deals ever, the $150 billion that we gave them back. We should have never given it back. By the way, should have never given it back. You know what you should have said? Sorry, folks, we don't have it. We don't have it. We just don't have it, okay? So easy. And we should have never given them the prison. We should have never allowed that to happen. So we have 4 prisoners. They were there for years Before we started that negotiation, we should have said, got to let him go. We don't negotiate under these circumstances. Got to let him go. And they would have said no, the Persians, great negotiators, historically great negotiators, okay? The Persians. And he said, I said to him, you got to let him go. And I kept saying, when are they going to say, like, we're leaving the negotiation? They never left. The only time Kerry left the negotiation, at 73 years old, he participated in a bicycle race. Can you believe it? He fell off the bicycle and he broke his leg and he was like out of it. This is our negotiators. And I promise you that I will never participate in a bicycle race during a major negotiation. I promise. But you know, in the Iran deal, and I say it to people, you say, got to let our prisoners go. They're going to say no. Got to let them go. No. Then you say, sorry, we're leaving. You go out, you double up the sanctions. By the time your plane lands at one of our decrepit airports, they're all decrepit, you know, they're all falling apart. When you go over to the Middle East, you see some of those Middle Eastern countries, you want to see airports, I'll show you airports. You go over to China, you look at certain airports, you look at what they've done with bridges and tunnels and roadways. We're like a third world country, folks, okay? We're like a third world country. And you know what? We owe China right now $1.7 trillion. We owe Japan $1.6 trillion. What do? They sell the cars. It's like NASCAR. You know, the head of NASCAR, Brian France, great guy. He endorsed Trump, right? King Richard Petty yesterday endorsed. If you guys are like, do we love Richard Petty? He was up on the stage. You saw him. Yesterday, they said Richard Petty's a great guy, but so many great people. We have such great endorsements, and we have them from winners. And I'm actually thinking for the convention, you tell me, we have them from winners, like really Dana White from UFC. You guys are like, I like UFC. Herschel Walker. We have them from everybody. We have them from all over the place. But we have such great endorsements, and I'm thinking about doing. Don King endorsed me 2 days ago. Big Don King. Big Don King. Don King likes Trump. What can I tell you, you know? That's okay. Don King's a good guy. But I don't know, I want him to be my manager, but he's a great guy. Don King's good. But you know what? We have such great endorsements. And by champions, by incredible champions. Hey, by the way, excuse me. We went to a place called Indiana, and Bobby Knight endorsed me. Boy, did that happen. Right? So many of the great people, Digger Phelps just so many people have endorsed. And we're thinking about doing something Lou Holtz in Indiana. We're thinking about doing something that's different. Rather than listening to politicians talk, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and everyone's falling asleep. Rather than doing that, we're thinking about she says, I love your hair. That's nice. That's the nicest thing that anybody's going to say about me. And it is my hair. Can you tell? Thank you. What a beautiful compliment. I love your hair, Donald. I love your hair. Did you get that on tape? Because I hope you have that on tape, because I want it for my children, that they can remember me. But we're thinking about at the convention, we're going to have a great convention in Cleveland. And we are going to, I think, have a winner's night. So instead of politicians, you know, we're going to have some of these great people that I mentioned and some more. We have such unbelievable endorsements. So maybe, I haven't even asked them yet, but you take a Bobby Knight and you take some of these great winners. They're winners. There aren't many winners. But you take these winners and we're going to have them speak. And we'll have a winner's night. That'll probably be the best attended night of the whole deal. So we're going to do that. We have some incredible people. The Bobby Knight story was interesting. The Bobby Knight story was so great because he called me like a year and a half ago before I was going to run. So, you know, it's 1 year ago tonight. It's such a great night. But a year and a half ago, 6 months before that, he called. And he heard I was thinking about it and all. And NBC was putting a lot of pressure on. They wanted me to do The Apprentice. And everybody wanted me to do The Apprentice. And, you know, that's not insignificant. It's pretty insignificant compared to what we're doing. I can tell you that. But still, you know, you have a primetime show that's done fantastic, one of the most successful shows. And so I'm saying, no, I want to run. But I get a call from Bobby Knight out of the blue. I never met him. I know of him. He won 900 games. He won 3 championships, college championships. He had the last undefeated team in college basketball, almost for 2 years. And I get a call. Won the Olympics. He won like everything, right? Tough guy. Tough but smart and good, great heart. But he calls me up. Mr. Trump, I'd like you to run for president. You should run for president. You'll be a great president. That's cool, right? How cool? I said, Coach, I appreciate that, but I haven't really made up my mind. You got to run for president, Mr. Trump. And that was before I even had Make America Great Again, So I didn't even tell him I'll make America great. We're going to make America great, folks. But we're going to make America great again. So he goes, no, you'll be great. And I said, Coach, do me a favor. Give me a number. And if I do it, I'm going to call you. And I did it. And I didn't call Bobby. And it was an amazing thing. I told the story. I took his number. I put it on the bottom of a huge pile of papers, like 3 feet of papers. Almost as tall as my tax return, okay? But not quite. Almost as tall. So if you've seen that picture. So what happened? Oh, by the way, I'm lowering everybody's taxes more than anybody else. More than anybody else. And by the way, aside from abolishing the Second Amendment, Hillary Clinton is going to raise your taxes big league. That's the last thing you need. She has to. And she doesn't want to talk about it, but they're talking about 55 and 60%. She doesn't want to talk about it, okay? And she doesn't put, she doesn't put that one in her little plans too much. So she doesn't talk. She's going to raise your taxes like you've never seen before. I think it'll end up being the biggest tax increase in the history of this country. We already have the highest taxes anywhere in the world. And let me tell you, I'm bringing them down, and we're going to get our country working again because we're going to bring our jobs back and lots of other things. But we have to finish our Bobby night, right? So what happens is I put his number down on this big stack of papers, and that was the end of it. And then I'm running, and we're doing great. And we get to New York, and I won New Hampshire. We won South Carolina. We won the whole South. I wasn't supposed to win the South. In fact, if this whole thing doesn't work out for me, I think I'm going to move to the South, okay? No, they were. The South, oh, man. Alabama, Arkansas. We went through the South, which was pretty good. But the great thing, when it's expected you're not going to win and you win in a landslide. Because one thing very embarrassing about me, I hate it. I hate saying it. It's a certain effect that they say. There was one person in California, and I'm not going to mention names, but he polled, and then people didn't vote for him. In other words, they said, he's such a nice man. It's so politically correct. So when the pollsters come around, we're going to always say, and then he ended up losing. So he's supposed to win an election by 10 points. He lost by 5 or something. So it's a certain effect. Now, I have, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the opposite effect. When I poll, I do fine. But when I run, I do much better. In other words, people say, I'm not going to say who I'm voting for. Don't be embarrassed. I'm not going to say who I'm voting for. And then they get in, and I do much better. It's like an amazing effect. So I won these places like in landslides. Massachusetts, I got almost 50%. And they never say this. They never say this. They never say it. Massachusetts with, I think there were 8 or 9 people. So I got almost 50%. And we have all these people. There's never been so many people running in a primary. We had 17 people running in the primary, right? So it was the largest crowd ever in the history of politics, I think, on both sides. So they'd say, Donald Trump only got 49%. They don't say there were like 7 or 8, 9 people left, right? And they'd always say that. I remember early on, I got 32% in one of the places, and there were like 8 people. And they say, Donald Trump did not break 50. This is terrible. I said, there was like 8 people. They never mentioned that. But then they started dropping like flies, folks. Drop out. So we start with 17 and 15 and 14, and it got down to 11, and then 10. And then it got down to 7. And then it got down to 6 and 5 and 4. And then it got down to 3. And even at 3, by the way, 3 is hard too. Don't kid yourself. If you won 45 to 55, right, in a 2-person race, that's called a massive landslide. That's a landslide, right? They consider that to be a tremendous, easy victory. But I got in New York almost 62% with 3 people. And won almost everything. And then what happened is we went to Pennsylvania, And we went to all over. We went to Connecticut. We went to Maryland. We went to Rhode Island and Delaware. That was the next week. And I won every single county in every single state. It's never happened. And just before that, we went to Florida. And in Florida, I won 66 out of 67 counties. That never happened before. Running against a good guy, Marco. I ran against a good guy, Marco. But I won, and won by almost 20 points. Which is, right, that's a big victory. So I won Florida. And in Florida, they tried to do a number. Because when they heard I was running, they changed it. Because you had Bush and Marco, sitting senator, former governor for a long time. And so what happened, and it was sort of amazing, what happened with that, is she okay? Is you okay? We want to make sure you're okay. Because these are my people. I love these people. Are they okay, folks? You okay? Okay, good. Because it's about 120 degrees outside. We had people, it was just on your news. And by the way, your NBC local affiliate treated me so nicely. I don't know who the hell these people are. But they treated me, I was watching your local news. I'm getting a little tired of cable. It's coming out of my ears. I can't watch. Variety, the big magazine that covers entertainment. They said, Trump gives cable the biggest year ever in profits and viewers. And I'm saying, what do I get out of it? I get nothing out of it, right? What do we get out of it? Anyway, so we won all of these states. But in Florida, what happened is they said Trump's running, so let's make it winner take all. That would mean that one of the professional politicians will win. They'll get all 99 delegates, right? So I said, I don't like that. That's not fair. So I immediately went wild. And I challenged it. And I sent legal. And we did everything. That's not fair. And then a poll came out. And it said Trump 48. And the other two like 11 and 12. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying. I said, withdraw those letters immediately. And we won Florida in a massive landslide. We got all 99. Good, right? But what happened, so we won Pennsylvania and all that stuff. And literally, we won every single county in every single state. It was incredible, that whole thing. And you know what I like about New York? What's cool about New York? They really know me well. And Florida, too. Florida really knows me well. And Florida, I have a lot of people working in these places. And they know me, and they like me. That's sort of like verification. Does that make sense? If they know me in New York, oh, do they know me? They're so sick of me in New York. Do they know me? They love me. They gave me the biggest victory. That tells you something. The people that know you, they're smart, they're tough, they get it, they're great people. But I go to New York, and honestly, I had very good competition. A governor and a senator were left. Both smart guys, good guys. And they worked hard. They worked very hard in New York. And I won by almost 62%. And when you get sick, with three people, remember. And then in Pennsylvania, and then in California, you saw that 2 weeks ago, 78%, and they had a lot of lines. There were a lot of little names that people don't take off where you can check them, et cetera, et cetera. But in Indiana, so everyone said, oh, he's going to win New York with nothing we could do about that, which is good, right? That tells you something. But he's going to win New York. Oh, he's going to win Pennsylvania. He's going to win these states. But we're going to stop him in Indiana. And I went to Indiana a month before. It was smart. I went there and I made a speech and I saw a crowd that was unbelievable. We filled up this massive basketball arena. And I said, wait a minute, this doesn't feel, that was 4 weeks before. And this was before even New York. I said, this doesn't feel to me like second place. When you fill up an arena, but it doesn't feel, anyway, so we win these other states and now the firewall, they all called it the firewall. The great firewall is going to be Indiana. That's where they're going to beat Trump and then they're going to go on from there and they're going to just clobber Trump. Except what happened, right? Maybe it was Bobby, but it was something. But all of a sudden they started doing polls and we're doing great. And then one of my people came up to me and said, sir, do you know Bobby Knight? Because they love him in Indiana. I said, do I know him? He called me. He wants to support me. I said, wait a minute. What a great idea I had. Let's call Bobby Knight. And I'm telling you, this is a true story. This is from God. I go over and I lift up this massive, it must be like 4,000 pages of stuff, old stuff. And I lift it up. And there's his number sitting on a little piece of paper like this, Bobby Knight. And I called Bobby Knight, and I said, Coach, he said, I've been waiting for you to call. What took you so long? Unbelievable, right? Isn't that unbelievable? I love that story. And he said, let's go. And I met him in Indiana, and I'm telling you, they heard he was going there, and I got an ovation, and he got an ovation like you wouldn't believe. And we won Indiana in a landslide, and then everybody just said, we're going home. This is too much. We're going home. So we got almost 14 million votes in the primaries, more than anybody in the history of the party. I mean, it was so incredible. It was such an amazing thing. And perhaps more importantly, although I'm not sure it is, but maybe it is, the party has expanded. We went up 70% in the primaries, 70%. And with all the stuff you hear about Bernie, and by the way, I get by far the largest crowds. Bernie was second, in all fairness, way ahead of any other Republican. But we got by far, we had 35,000 people in Mobile, Alabama. We had 21,000 people when we had a little more time. We had 3 days. Here we had a couple of, one day. I wish we took it again, but it wasn't available. But we had the Mavericks Arena, and we filled it up, 21,000 people. 21,000 people. And I will tell you, it has been such an honor. And then on television, you see pundits. You see people that hate me. They hate me more than anything in their life. They hate, go ahead, go home, that's okay. Go home to mommy. They're going home. They're so late. Why are they so late in the game? That's all right, don't hurt them, please. I always say that now, don't hurt them. People don't get hurt. You ever notice that? They don't get hurt. Everybody protects themselves. It's great. It's a beautiful, honestly, it's what should happen in this country. That's what we need. That's what we need in this country, okay? That's what we need in this country. So the party has expanded greatly, and, record-setting. All over the world they talk about it, by the way. But pundits that truly hate me, people that despise Donald Trump, because number one, you watch this guy like Charles Krauthammer, who was a big war hawk. He wanted us to go into Iraq. We should go into Iraq and bomb them and totally destabilize the Middle East, all that stuff. Look back. But he was another one. He said, Donald Trump will never run. He will never run. And then I ran. He said, oh, well, but he'll never win. So we started. You remember that? We went, and you start at nothing because you're running. They haven't polled, so I said, man, that's a bad poll. The first week I said, but I wasn't in it, so I felt better. I said, if I'm going to start with nothing, I'm in trouble. But in the second week, I think I had 6 or something, and then I had 7, then I had 12, then I had 18. And did you remember when they said, and this was against a lot of people, then I went up to 29, then I went up to 32 with all these people in it. But do you remember they kept saying, well, now he has reached the ceiling. He's got 6%, the first week. He's got 6%. He has reached the ceiling. That's the highest he'll go, and that's all he deserves. Okay, fine. So I said, man, that's bad news if I reach the ceiling. And I remember one of the others, actually it was Krauthammer and others, said this is the finest group of talent ever assembled by the Republican Party. And this is like a month or two before I decided to run. I said, man, I went to my wife. I said, these are going to be tough. I didn't know too many of them. But I said, this is going to be tough. Wasn't so tough, folks. It wasn't so tough. Okay? Actually, beating the Democrats is tougher because the press is so dishonest. I'll be honest with you. Beating the Democrats is tougher because the press, and I'll tell you why. But anyway, before I tell you why. So then what happens? We go to 6, and they say this is a ceiling. We go to 12, and they said, this is a ceiling. I was surprised he went this high. Next week we go to 18. Then we go to 21, 24, 28, 32. And we finish off like at 78 in California and 62 in New York. And always they were saying, always, even when they started saying, boy, this is getting to be a pretty scary ceiling. When they would go like, you may be right. 32 may be a ceiling, but with all these people, and to have 32, and you may be right, but I'll tell you what, this is getting to be a little bit scary, they're saying. So, you know what? So it's great. But here's what happens. Okay, here's what happens. The press lies. And let me give you an example. So we're going to have great trade deals, and you know that, and I've talked about how they're moving to Mexico, and they're moving. I love Mexico, and I love the Mexican people. I have thousands of Mexicans working for me, and we're going to win the Hispanic vote. We're going to win the Latinos. We're going to win the Latinos because I'm going to bring jobs back. I'm going to bring jobs back to our country. You watch. We're going to win with the Latinos. Hillary's going to do nothing for them. Hillary's going to do nothing for them. Just like, I'll tell you what, women, right? Women. So Hillary supposedly is doing well. I respect women, and I will do so much better for women. But Hillary takes all of this money into a crooked foundation, Crooked Hillary, Crooked Foundation, from Saudi Arabia and from many other countries where they enslave women. That's what they do. They call it enslavement. So they enslave women. As far as gays are concerned, okay, think of it. They throw gays off buildings. They kill them. Countries that contribute to her foundation. And she should give all that money back to all these countries. It's tens of millions of dollars. And you know what? LGBT is starting to like Donald Trump very much lately, I will tell you. Starting to like Donald Trump very, very much lately. I don't know if you've been looking. But they're saying it's right because she's not only taking money, but she wants to have a 500. Here's one where it was interesting. Get him out of here. Get him out. Crazy. You having a good time? Yeah, good time. All right, you get him out of here. Boy, do you guys work fast in this area. Oh. Let's give our police a hand. I'll tell you what, they're not treated properly. They're not treated properly. They do an amazing job. They do an amazing job. So LGBT, the gay community, they kill gays in these countries. And she wants to have a 500, it's interesting. I've been saying a 500% increase, and I was actually corrected. It's 550% increase over what Obama's allowing in. So you tell me, who's better for the gay community and who's better for women than Donald Trump? Believe me. Believe me. But I'll tell you how dishonest the press is. I'll tell you how totally dishonest they are. So things that you've never heard of. Go ahead, get them out of here because I'm trying to make a nice point there. Get them out. Get them out of here. Right away. Bobby Knight. What do you think Bobby would do? Bobby would say, get him out of here. Bobby, winner, champ. We love winners. We do love winners, don't we, folks? Don't we want one? Hillary's making a speech on the economy next week. You know what? Her husband signed the worst bill, economically speaking, in the history of this country, NAFTA. It destroyed this country. It destroyed the manufacturing of this country. One of the worst bills ever signed from an economic standpoint of this. And you know what? He got away with it, but everybody that suffered with it, because when he signed it, other presidents that followed, it's wreaked havoc. You have to see New York State. You have to see New England. You have to see Pennsylvania. You have to see what NAFTA has done to these states. It's unbelievable how bad it's been. Unbelievable. So here's what happens, just to show you again the total dishonesty of these people. Get out of here. Go. Boom, boom. Go home. Go home. They're so rude. They're so rude. It's our place. Now, I could have him arrested, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruin his life. Yeah, get that guy out, please. Get him out. Get him out of here. Go home. Go home to your parents. I don't think I'll ever be getting his vote. Do you agree? Thank you. So, folks, seriously. So we protect these nations. Now, we're a debtor nation. We owe $19 trillion, going up to $21 trillion. The budget deal was horrible, the omnibus budget. And people didn't know this. But we protect Japan and subsidize their military, our military. So we protect Germany. We protect South Korea. We know that. We have 28,000 soldiers on the line. These are massively wealthy countries. These are countries that are unbelievable. We protect Saudi Arabia. They pay us far less than it costs. Now, Saudi Arabia has nothing but money. They were making $1 billion a day when the oil prices were high. $1 billion a day. Yeah, get him out. It's okay. Oh, it's the same guy. The same guy with the cowboy hat. He's got a cowboy hat. I love the cowboy hats, but I like the Make America Great hats too. Hey. You know, the protester just gave me an idea. We'll say, Make America Great Again on a cowboy hat, right? Where are my people? Where are my people? I love that idea. Thank you, Mr. Protester. Boy, that's going to sell well in Dallas, I can tell you. But seriously, so a lot of people, I wasn't even sure, a lot of people didn't know that we spend all of this money, and we don't want them to arm, ideally. But, you know, at some point you have to be able to walk away, or you can't make a good deal. You have to say, sorry. But we pretend, look, it's hard to believe. We protect militarily Japan. Now, we have a treaty with Japan. If we're attacked, they don't have to help us. If they're attacked, what do? Start World War III. Okay, good deal. That's like a typical deal for the United States, right? We protect Japan and Germany and South Korea. We protect Saudi Arabia and others, okay? We protect, look at the NATO situation, right? Look at NATO. All of these countries, many of them are delinquent. You know, in the real estate business, we call it delinquent. They didn't pay their rent, they're delinquent, right? So they didn't pay. Or they're paying far less than they're supposed to. But in any event, we're subsidizing greatly. And if Russia, it was meant, you know, it was meant for the Soviet Union, but with NATO, right? But let's say Russia will take its place. It's plenty powerful, probably more because of what Putin is doing. You know, he's building up his armed forces like you wouldn't believe he's building up. We got to be careful. We got to be smart. You got to be smart. And he said a lot of good things about me. Remember during the debate? And they wanted me to renounce him. I said, a guy calls me a genius and I'm going to renounce. I'm not going to renounce it. But he's not going to get anything by it. But what's wrong with talking to him? What's wrong with talking? Remember a couple of weeks ago, they had, you know, this wild man, right? Wild child in North Korea. They asked me, would you talk to him? I said, absolutely. Why not? Why not? Hillary Clinton said, he would talk to a dictator. Absolutely, I'll talk. Absolutely. Who knows? There's a 10% chance, a 20% chance that we can talk him into, who knows? Good stuff for us, only good stuff. We're going to make good deals, okay? Remember what I said. Remember what I said 2 weeks ago. Remember what I said. Great deals. We only make great deals. America first. If we don't make great deals, nothing wrong with talking. I'll talk to anybody that wants to talk. I'm not going there, folks. I can tell you that much right now. You won't see me come back so easily. I'm not going there. But as far as talking. But so nobody knew this, and people started finding out. I think, you know what, I've brought a lot of points to the forefront. I brought a lot of points. So we defend Japan, and we defend Germany, we defend lots of different places, right? Now think of it, think of it. We do this because we don't want them to arm, ideally, right? But this isn't 40 years ago and 30 years ago. We were a debtor nation. We owe nothing, but we have tremendous deficits, massive. Did you see our trade? Our trade numbers are the worst they've been in almost 8 years. Did you see that was announced yesterday? The trade numbers are deficits, the worst they've been in years, meaning countries are ripping. I keep talking for 2-3 years. I'm talking about trade. We're going to make it great. And our numbers get worse and worse. We had the worst trade numbers in almost 8 years, right? It just never ends. Okay, so here's the story. So we'll straighten it out. Think of it, I straighten it out. Even if I get nice chunks, I have the smartest people in the world have endorsed me. Carl Icahn, a lot of the greatest business people. We use political hacks. We're not going to use political hacks anymore. We're going to use the smartest people. We have the greatest business people in the world. They're dying to do it. They're dying to do it. They don't want any money. They want to do it. It's like a chess game for them. And they do love the country in their own way. They do love our country. They want to see good things. But to them, it's a chess, you know, it's like they love it. They love it. They're so good. I know people that are so good. And I deal with China all the time. China's wonderful. I don't blame China. I blame our leaders for being taken advantage of by Mexico and China and Japan and everybody else. So we defend these countries. Now, here's the story. So I said to the press, I said very strongly, I said, look, we may have to pull back. We may have to, do something because you can't say that we will, I guarantee we'll defend. We got to renegotiate these deals. We can't afford to defend all these countries and lose tremendous amounts of money. So I said, we want to continue to defend, as an example, Japan, Germany, all the others. But we want to continue to defend. But it's possible we won't be able to. And if we don't, they're going to have to defend themselves against this maniac in North Korea, right? I said, very simple. You got to say that. You got to say that. So the press said, Donald Trump wants Japan to go nuclear. I didn't say that. And actually, David Sanger of the New York Times actually covered it very accurately in a big story he did. But that's okay. I've got to give credit where credit. David Sanger, very talented writer, covered it accurately. Okay. But I didn't say what they said. See, they left off about 3/4 of what I said. I said, it may be that Japan will have to defend themselves. And that's true. And that's true. It may be. And it may also be that when we talk to them, they'll pay us much more money and will help straighten out our country. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. And let me tell you the problem with politicians, especially Hillary, because she doesn't have a clue. So she comes out, we will never abandon our allies. We will never, ever abandon it. Well, let me tell you, once Japan hears that, what do they have to negotiate for? They're not going to leave? No, we're not going to pay more. She'll go, because now they're all talking about Japan's going to have to pay more money, right? So now, but you can't do that when you say we will never abandon. So she said, we will never abandon. Donald Trump wants to abandon Japan. He wants Japan to go nuclear. I want him to go nuclear. It's possible they'll have to defend themselves. But it's also very possible they'll pay more money and we'll continue the thing the way it is now. Okay, that's the fact. But when you say and start screaming from the top of her very luxurious apartment, okay, when you paid for largely by Wall Street, which is interesting. Bernie Sanders got that right too. By the way, Bernie Sanders got that right. But when you start screaming that we will defend our allies, we will defend them, we will. Well, if I'm Japan, I'm saying this person's stupid. This is wonderful. Let's not negotiate, right? Now remember this, and I'm going to finish with this, but I'm just saying this because these are the things we can do. You're talking about billions and billions and billions. You're talking Japan. You're talking Germany. You're talking Saudi Arabia. They were making $1 billion a day when the oil was high. Now they're only making massive amounts of money. They have so much money, they don't know what to do with it, right? We go to Saudi Arabia. If we're not in Saudi Arabia, they're going to be gone in a year. By the way, Iran will get in there, believe me, okay? Because we've made Iran so powerful now, they'll walk in. You know, they like Yemen. They don't like Yemen, but they like Yemen. You know why? Because of the border. It's got a nice, beautiful border. They want to take over Saudi Arabia. Okay. So what's going to happen is you say to Saudi Arabia, do you guys like flying commercial? Do you ever see the planes they have? Brand new 747s, brand new 777s. And you say, have you ever flown commercial? Because you may have to get used to it. We have to make a deal. No, we have to make a deal. If we don't make a deal, you're going to have to defend yourself. They will give you whatever the hell you want, folks. And we're talking about billions and billions, and we want to protect them. We want to protect them. But it's possible you may have to walk. You may have to say to them, I'm sorry, no good. By the way, the next day you'll probably get a call. Come on back and let's keep negotiating, right? But we've got to be smart. Whether it's trade deals, which you've heard me talk about, and those are easy. Whether it's military deals where we're being just absolutely ripped off. You saw 2 weeks ago, one of the generals got up, and he was sent by Obama, obviously. And he said, doesn't Donald Trump understand that Japan pays for 50% of the cost of their military? I said, what about 100%? What's wrong with it? Why are we paying 50%? We can't afford it. Well, we can't afford it. And then you see these massive ships in Los Angeles pour in, and cars like coming from NASCAR just pouring off these boats, millions of cars. And we're defending them, and we're losing money. We're subsidizing them. We're subsidizing them. Folks, and I guarantee I'll be able to do it. And by the way, if I don't, we're going to save a lot of money, one way or the other. Because maybe it's better for them. You know, I've said it. Maybe it is better for them. Let them handle this maniac if something happens. What the hell do we have to get involved for, okay? Maybe it is better. Maybe it's better. But you know what? The bottom line, I don't think it'll come to that. Because I'm all for it. I have many friends in Japan. I've done great with Japan. I like Japan. I like China. I have the biggest bank in the world, a tenant in one of my buildings in Manhattan. from China, the biggest bank in the world by far. A tenant in my buildings. I sell condos to them. The Bank of America building in San Francisco. I have the big chunk of it, 1290 Avenue of the Americas. So many things from China. We can do great with China. I'm not against China. I'm against our leaders being taken advantage of like they're being taken advantage of. Okay, just one other thing. One other point. I love this. One other point. The reason I love it is I love you people. We got to straighten this mess out. So I'm on a show, and Wolf Blitzer, actually, good guy, CNN. It's all right. He's all right. He's a good guy. And I didn't do this. I haven't been exactly studying NATO all my life, but I have a thing called lots of common sense, and I understand what's going on. What do you think of NATO? I said, that's the first time that question's ever been asked of me. But we figure things out fast, right? So I said two things. Number one, it's obsolete, doesn't take care of terror. And number two, we got a lot of people that aren't paying us. We got a lot of countries, and we got a lot of people that aren't paying us or paying us what they're supposed to be paying. And a lot of them aren't even paying what they're obligated to pay, right? Because they think we're stupid people, okay? Because we are led by stupid people. So he asked me the question. I said two things. It's obsolete because of terrorism. You even have the wrong countries if you're talking about terrorism, okay? A little thing like that. And they're not paying us, and most of them, it turned out that I was right. So what happened? I got just absolutely killed by the press. Donald Trump wants to abandon NATO. That was the next thing. I always want to abandon everything they say. They don't get it. Donald Trump wants to abandon NATO. He wants to abandon. He wants to leave. This is the finest thing ever assembled in this country. Okay, and all that stuff, right? And that's it. They don't talk about the money. They don't talk about the economics. They don't talk about we're paying like 72% of the cost of NATO, and we're defending them. They're supposed to be paying us. So, a little thing. Now what happened, about 3 days, I was just getting killed on that thing. And that's all I said. I said, it's obsolete. I said, no terrorism, because terrorism's a big threat to me. Terrorism's like the big deal. I said, obsolete, no terrorism, and they're not paying. Okay, simple. I leave. For 3-4 days, I was killed. Then all of a sudden, people started saying, Trump is really a smart guy. He's really right. The people that really study NATO. Did you ever see, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? You got these people, they're good people. They work NATO every day. Like NATO to me was like, I don't think I've ever been asked about NATO before. But these people, their whole life, 6 hours a day, 5 hours a day, they work for government. Okay, now I'm only kidding. I was going to say 12 hours a day, but I wish. But for whatever hours they work a day, they study NATO. And they're so close to it that they didn't see what I pointed out. So what happens is it was an uproar for 3 days. And then all of a sudden people were starting to write big deals. Trump is right. It's not taking care of terrorism. All these countries owe us money. Trump is really right. And then 3-4 days ago, I read on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, NATO to form massive terrorism unit to be headed by, I don't know, some big general or something. And I said, that's only because of me. It is. It's only because of me. It's only because of me. It's only because of me. And I got no credit. Actually, the Wall Street Journal put a little tiny, like a third of a cent, Donald Trump complaint. That was it. Buried in the street. Donald Trump complaint. I was surprised they even mentioned that. It's only because of me. I don't want to be bragging. I'm just telling you, it's only because of me. They would have never done this. They're doing the right thing. But they would have never done this before. Now they have to get the right countries in there. They got to do some other things. But there's a lot of common sense. But think of the money. Let's say I get some of these countries, all of these countries, to pay up, okay? To pay up, to pay something fair. We're talking for our country billions of dollars. Remember, we're the ones with the jet fighters that are 20 years old that we have to go to graveyards, plane graveyards, to get parts. To use on our jet fighters to have our great young people fly in planes where they're going to junkyards and museums to get parts for current fighters. While our opponents and our so-called allies are buying our planes, and they got the new beautiful versions of them, and we got old planes that are, literally obsolete planes. It's not going to happen anymore, folks, okay? Not going to happen anymore. Not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen anymore. And that's right. I wanted to cover this tonight because there's so much. We're talking about the economics. Because when I saw that trade numbers today come out, the biggest in almost 8 years, the worst trade numbers we've had in 8 years. In other words, all of these countries that I've been talking about all the time, I spill my guts out talking about these countries, it's getting worse. It's getting worse, not better. It's getting worse. Worse numbers. I started talking about it 10 years ago, but 2-3 years ago. And then when I ran 1 year ago, I made it a major thing. The borders, illegal immigration, trade. I made it such an important thing. And you'd think the numbers would get better because people hear me talking about it, right? And the numbers are getting far worse. Worst in almost 8 years. Just think about that. How disgraceful is that? Our jobs are being taken away from us. Our money's being stripped from us. They devalue their currency. And I'm not only talking about China. China's the biggest and the greatest abuser. But I'm not only talking about China. I'm talking about many countries. I'm talking about almost everybody. I mean, like, you take a look at just almost everybody. If I win, we're going to have a lot of great things happen. We're going to have the wall. The wall, this man keeps shouting, wall, wall. No, we're going to have the wall. No, we're going to have the wall. You know, your border patrol. Thank you. Well, we're going to build it. We're going to build it. We're going to build it. Thank you. We're going to build that wall. Believe me, we're going to build that wall. We're going to build that wall. Who's going to pay for that wall? By the way, 100%. And they'll be happy to do it. It's peanuts compared to the trade deficits that we're talking about with Mexico. They'll be happy. And we'll have a better relationship with Mexico than we have right now. Right now, we don't have a good relationship. We have a bad relationship with Mexico now. We'll have a better relationship with China, with Mexico, with Japan, with all of these countries. We'll be better. They'll respect us. You know, they have to respect us. When they don't respect you, folks, look at China. They're building one of the largest fortresses in the world in the middle of the South China Sea. Do you think they got an environmental impact study and they went to their do you think they went to their various environmental departments to get the approval? Do you think so? Or do you think they said, build it, and they started the following hour? Okay? Folks, we got a long way to go in this country, I'll tell you what. But I appreciate Texas, so many friends, and so many of my friends from Dallas, they're in the audience. And I just want to tell you, nothing's easy in life, but we are going to make our country so great again. We are going to make it strong. We're going to save our Social Security and our Medicare, which others want to cut. We're going to keep our taxes and bring our taxes down instead of a massive increase that Hillary Clinton wants to do. But we're going to start winning again. We don't win anymore. We lose. We only lose. We're going to start winning again. We're going to start winning again. We're going to win at everything. We're going to win every which way. We're going to start winning again. And you're going to be very proud of your country again. Right now, a lot of people aren't so proud of our country. We love our country, but we're not proud of what's happening. You're going to be proud of this country again. We're going to make America great again, and it will be America first.